This is the West Virginia Soccer Association Beyond the Pitch podcast on the WVSA Digital Network. From the Sport Pens International Studios in Charleston, West Virginia, here's your host, Marcus Cole.
Welcome to the podcast. We have another great show on tap today. Before we welcome our guests, I want to remind you to like, subscribe, and share our program. This helps us get the word out to others and let them know that we're providing valuable information designed for soccer players, coaches, referees, and parents. And today, we're going to be focusing on those coaches and those parents. With us is John Howe from Mojo. John, welcome back to the program.
Thanks so much for having me, Marcus.
And John is with Mojo, which is the coaching app, which is a program and an app that we partnered with last year. And as we kind of gear up here in 2022, spring soccer season, figured it was a great time to have John back on the program to talk about the app and just, I'll be honest with you, how it will make your coaching life so much easier, especially for you coaches at the grassroots level. Those coaches that may not know a lot about the sport and were kind of wrangled into coaching their under 16 because they got the call from the league administrator saying, hey, you know, we thank you for registering your daughter into the program. Unfortunately, we don't have a coach right now. Would you be willing to coach? And of course, we all go, I know nothing about the sport, but yes, I will coach just because I want my daughter or son to have that experience. So, John, why don't you start us off, what is Mojo?
Sure, happy to do it. And yeah, I'm just smiling, laughing at because I've heard a lot of tricks these days about how you get coaches to become volunteers. And one that I like that I just heard is that you ask who wants to be an assistant coach, and then they say, okay, well, I'll be an assistant coach, and then surprise, you become the head coach. So
Been there.
That's how you become a voluntold coach. But no, thank you again for having me, and happy to just give a little bit of background about Mojo and what we're trying to do. So Mojo is trying to provide a tool and a resource for coaches everywhere. If you look at the youth sports landscape across all of our sports, but particularly in soccer, majority of our kids 4 to 14 are coached by a parent coach volunteer. That parent coach, as probably many folks know, is short on time, experience, resources. Sometimes they hit the trifecta. They're short on all three, but they still play an integral role in our communities and with their families. You know, they're trying to teach not only the sport but the love of the game as well. And so we want to be able to provide them with expert-backed, age-appropriate materials that they can utilize in a matter of minutes before they head out onto the field for their practice. And so what the Mojo app does is it provides these personalized practice plans for coaches in a matter of seconds. And all these practice plans feature activity videos that we've spent a lot of time and effort on and resources to make sure that they look better than your average YouTube video. And they're all in this app that is really intuitive, easy to use. And perhaps best of all, it's free for any coach. So we want to make sure that, especially at the grassroots level, any coach anywhere can utilize the expert-backed materials that we've assembled. We've worked with partners at USU Soccer, and I've probably since we last spoke, Marcus, we're happy to dive into this more. We partnered with FC Barcelona to be able to take their materials on our platform. So coaches really have access to world-class materials in a short, easy to consume format, which are our videos. So we've seen a lot of traction already. Mojo launched in February of 2021. We've had more than 100,000 coaches use Mojo from over 1,000 different organizations. It can vary from traditional soccer clubs to your local Parks and Rec to your local YMCA. This is an issue that affects youth sports across many sports, and we want to try and make sure that we are providing our coaches with the best tools so that their lives are a little bit easier, their practices are a little bit more fun, and at the end of the day, what matters most is how their kids are doing too. And our kids are really loving our Mojo practices, and our goal is to try and make sure that coaches and kids are having a better time while playing youth sports, so they keep coming back season after season. So that's a little bit of background about Mojo. It's been a fun ride so far, but we've got more to come in 2022.
I am a little bit mad at you guys. I wish this was available back when I first started coaching. I knew the sport I grew up with the sport, being originally from New England, and unfortunately, my experience with the sport as a player did not translate well into being a coach, just because I didn't understand the dynamic of make it fun, make it interesting for the kids, get them to want to come back for more. I didn't understand that at the time. And, there's so many things that I like about the Mojo app. And one of them is the fact where I can set up these activities within the app, and then I can try to execute these activities during a training session. And if I don't like, or something didn't work out, or maybe it was a little too over the head of my players at that age, or the kids that I have, is that I can end up replacing that activity and go to something else. And your app will remember that and will understand that maybe your team is not ready for this certain type of activity. Talk to us a little bit about how the Mojo app is so versatile.
Yeah, no, it is really. I'm always amazed by it. I use it as a coach. I'm a U8 boys soccer coach myself here in Los Angeles, California, and I'm always amazed with that power, because I think that is a huge differentiator for Mojo is our ability to learn what coaches are doing. I often joke that, or maybe make the analogy, not joke, that when a coach uses an activity, when they replace an activity, when they give feedback on their practice, Mojo starts to learn what the coach likes. So much like a Netflix or YouTube starts to learn what you like to watch, we start to learn what you like to practice and can recommend activities based on what you practiced in a previous week. So the personalization, I think, is really helpful and powerful for a coach. First of all, to just sort of be heard and be on the app where you can plug in, okay, here's the age of my players, here's their experience, here's my experience as a coach, and we provide a practice plan that addresses those needs. And then from there, as you go throughout the season, the app just becomes more powerful based on your usage, because we start to learn what you like. There's some other features that a coach can go in there and continue to edit the practice. We recognize that some coaches do have that time in their day, but if you don't, it's okay. There's the app can still work for a coach that just has those 5 minutes in the parking lot before they head out to practice. And the other thing that I personally find useful is the app has got a powerful feature that if things change at the last second, so maybe you normally have 10 kids and now you're down to 7 that night, you're used to a half field and now you're only down to a quarter field, you can enter those preferences into Mojo, and Mojo will give you a new practice plan that day for any last second changes. So there's a lot of nifty little tricks and tools in there for coaches. And I think one of the reasons why those are in there is because we've lived and experienced coaching as employees here. Almost everyone here, to a person, is either currently a volunteer coach or has been prior to their experience at Mojo. So we know what the pain points are for coaches, and we talk to our coaches all the time about how we can make their lives just a little bit easier. So that's always our goal, trying to make coaches' lives a little bit easier, a little bit less stressful, and making sure that practices are more fun.
And I think that's an important point that you bring up about being able to be adaptable with the app and how easy it is to change your practice plan, because you do get that situation where you're expecting, 10, 12 boys to show up for a training session. All of a sudden you find out Jimmy has band after school. Tommy and Roger are not feeling well, so
Yeah.
they're not, and you end up coming to training session and you've got 5, 6 kids. And honestly, when I was coaching back, a number of years ago, I would sit there and I think, oh man, my practice is blown. But at least with this, you're able to go in and adapt your training sessions, and it will pop up some new activities for you, or it may revise the activities that it had already planned. But I think that's such a great feature on the Mojo app. One other thing that I really do like about the app, and we can talk a little bit about what you mentioned before about FC Barcelona, is that the one thing that stood out to me when we first started talking about, and before we partnered with the app, is we went in and experienced the app and tried, different things and planning practice sessions. And the video examples that you guys use on there are with, and I hate to use the term, but real kids. Real kids that might not be overly skilled, that might, are at different levels in their development. And you can see the mistakes that they make. And you can think, okay, well, maybe my team might have that same thing. And it's like, okay, Susie had that issue when we did this activity. It's just really good about being able to do that. So talk to us a little bit about that process when you guys were putting together these videos. And then you can go ahead into talking about FC Barcelona and more experienced players.
Yeah, no, it's an important point, Marcus, because I think when we looked out on YouTube or other places, you could probably find training videos from Liverpool Academy players or LAFC Academy players. But for your average recreation or grassroots program, that's not relatable. Like, of course, those kids can do, one-touch passing in pairs to goal. But for your average program, that level of soccer is not what you're going to encounter on a field. So when we've made all of our videos, whether it's in soccer, basketball, flag football, we just finished filming baseball and softball, we make sure that we are getting the wide range of players. We want to make sure that there's a couple players in there that, can demonstrate what an activity looks like. But we want to make sure there's a couple players in there that are going to be at the level that you see on a field near you, the daisy pickers, the kid that's just touching the ball for the first time. So you can see what mistakes look like, hear how coaches correct those mistakes, and make sure that it's relatable. We make sure that exists for all of our sports, and that's usually just working with local communities to find those players. And the players, of course, we've had access to some really cool stadiums and arenas to film our videos. So of course the kids, and every kid loves to, show what they got on Bank of California or SoFi Stadium. The Barcelona partnership came, again, I mentioned earlier, we talked to our coaches to try and get as much feedback as possible. Our coaches in the spring season, they loved using Mojo. And a lot of our coaches said, this is great. Is there something for more advanced or more elite players? And so we formed this partnership with FC Barcelona. For those who aren't familiar, they have one of the most world-renowned training academies called La Masia, which is the farmhouse in Spanish. Almost a century worth of history that really became and more prominent in the 80s and 90s as they started to build players that have become household names like Piqué and Messi. And this has really become a world-renowned training center just because they focus on fun. They focus on team involvement. They're less concerned about creating the next Messi. They believe if they can focus on making sure that there's a love of the game, the sort of the talent and the development will take care of itself. So we were able to go over to Barcelona this summer. We were able to film with the La Masia coaches and players. And what's interesting, Mark, is something that I learned is I thought we were going to be filming all the next Messis. And while I would say the level of player is higher than probably our previous videos or maybe a normal team that you might encounter, there's a lot of kids in the program that go to school there in addition to just doing the training. So you'll have kids that aren't going to be on the Barcelona A team or B team or even C team. They're there to participate in soccer and get schooling through the Barcelona Academy too. So we actually did have a range of players in those videos as well. I will admit the drills are a bit more advanced. The players are a bit more advanced. And that's a great offering for coaches or teams that are looking for that training. But what's interesting is you might expect, I don't know, at least, someone that hadn't been involved might expect Barcelona to have this super regimented, super serious, very elite training program. But you go and talk to the coaches, you talk to the kids, it is a very fun, team-based, collaborative environment that they are very focused on making sure that the kids are smiling, are having a good time, are healthy and happy, more so than did they get 1,000 touches today? Did they, break a new time and running a mile, whatever it might be. They are very focused on a lot of the ideals that we are, which is making sure that we're creating a fun, positive environment. And that's one reason why we think they're such a great partner of ours.
Excellent. We're talking with John Howe from Mojo, great coaching app available for all of our soccer coaches, no matter whether you're, a recreational grassroots coach, or you may be a travel coach. Obviously, this addition of FC Barcelona into the Mojo app certainly raises the game a little bit more for our coaches. Obviously, now when we originally started with the partnership, and then we talked, I think later on in the fall of this past year, it became free to our coaches, which I think was a wonderful, wonderful idea. Talk to us about that, and also there's upgrades obviously available for the Mojo app, and also integrating parents into the know, so to speak, with the app. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, something that we're really excited about. I think, again, just philosophically, we want to be able to make sure that any coach anywhere can access these expert materials. So Mojo is free for coaches. It's available on an iPhone or an Android device. We want to make sure that the coaching experience and in the youth sports experience is a magical one for coaches and for families. And so we want to make sure that this resource is out there. What we've done, Marcus, is you're right, is we've added, and this has been our goal the entire time, was to make coaches resources free and available to any coach, and then be able to offer families additional features and opportunities to improve outside of a team practice. So we have a new space on the app. When you download the app, a coach will be taken to their practice for their team, but they'll be encouraged to invite the parents on the team, and they'll be encouraged to do that to get access to three things. One, that the parents can now see what we're doing as a team. They can see that for free. So it always helps for the parents to be on board so they understand what their kids are learning. There's a new chat functionality on the app that a coach and a parent can communicate. So a coach could let the parents know, hey, schedule's changed. Here's an update. The coach could send out, some recommendations for here's what I recommend for shin guards. Here's what I recommend for, working on dribbling outside. But then the third piece is that the parents now have access to what we call our at-home offering. And that's where you will see a subscription on the app. What we have is individual training videos focused on one-on-one development across all of our sports. So for all of our sports, you can access these individual videos and activities that will feature a coach, one child. And these are meant to be done in your living room, if it can be done safely, in your driveway, in your garage, backyard, local park, wherever you can find space. And really for those families that are looking for a little bit of extra work. So Marcus, I'm sure you've been asked over the years, what can little Jimmy, little Sally do from extra work? If you've ever coached, I promise you will be asked that question. And this is a great resource to send to families. The subscription either costs $9.99 for each month or $59.99 for the year. We recognize that not every family can afford something like that. Not every family maybe is interested in something like this, but we do know that if you've got 10 families on the team, there's going to be a handful of them that are interested in something like this. And we think that this is a great way to keep your kids active, keep your kids interested in sport. And what's great about Mojo is that our those individual activities on at home would align with what you're learning as a team. So if a coach practices with your son or daughter in dribbling, we've got dribbling exercises that exactly cater to what they learn on a Tuesday practice. And so we're really excited about this offering. It launched in the fall of 2021. And again, as I mentioned, when you subscribe to At Home, you have access to all the different sports that we offer. So we always want to encourage sport sampling, multi-sport participation. So if you've got a kid that's just playing soccer and he or she wants to learn how to throw a football, they can do that with this. And if they want to work on their basketball dribbling, they can do that. So it's a really fun resource for families, and something that we're really excited to connect the parent and the coach in a more meaningful way.
Excellent. We're highly endorsing Mojo for our coaches here. And if you are a grassroots coach or a travel coach, we certainly recommend you download the app and get it, try it out, check it out, see what it's all about. As we're gearing up here for the spring 2022 season, it's important to be able to have a good training session for your kids, be able to have something that helps them with their development, allows them, to think, be creative, and allow them to have fun so that they want to come back for more. We need to keep more kids in the sport of soccer and keep them here as long as we can.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that we and with the Mojo app, I really believe that you can achieve that. If somebody wants to download the app, where do they need to go?
Yeah, and if I can just piggyback on that last thought, Marcus, I know
Yeah.
that's something that we initially had talked with you at West Virginia with USU Soccer. Our goal this whole time has been to try and attract more volunteer coaches, but also retain our coaches and also make sure our players are coming back. And while we've been at this for only 2 seasons, some survey data and some data that we've been collecting on our coaches is starting to bear that out in a really powerful way. And I just wanted to highlight that's the impact that we've seen. I would say the 2 numbers that have really jumped out to us this year have been that 82% of our coaches say that they're more likely to coach another sport based on if they could use the Mojo app. So it really shows just how any coach would be able to start coaching soccer for the first time if they had the Mojo app. And then the other thing that is really exciting to see is 85% of our coaches say their kids are more likely to play another season of soccer after having experienced a Mojo activity. So that's a really powerful number. If you have 10 kids on the team and now 7 of which we're likely to return, if now we're getting 8 or 9 kids returning each year, that number is going to start snowballing and really make an impact at your local club level, for the state, nationwide, and hopefully as a society as a whole. So I won't get on my soapbox too much about the impact that will make, but we're big believers in sports and use sports as a vehicle just to teach our kids some of life's lessons about teamwork and collaboration. And we're really excited to see the impact that Mojo has had on these practices, both for coaches and for players.
Excellent. And of course, they can get the app on iTunes and
Yep.
Google Play.
Yep, available on your App Store, on your iPhone, Google Play Store, for your Android device, free and available to any coach. I know I'd have to check. It's available on the USYS website. I know we've put it on out through WVSA, and I'm sure we'll be making sure coaches know about it this spring again. But again, our website, always a good place to check out more information. mojo.sport. That's mojo.sport. And our social media handles are at You Got Mojo. So that's across Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Always a good place to keep track of us as well.
Excellent. Well, we certainly encourage every coach out there listening to get the Mojo app. If you have a coach that encourage them to get the app. I promise you it will make your life so much easier and so much more fun and less fearful.
That's our goal.
Especially if you don't know the sport that well.
Yeah, that
Awesome.
is our goal.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, John Howe from Mojo. Thank you so much for coming back onto the program and talking to us about the Mojo app.
Thank you so much, Marcus. I appreciate you having me.
And thank you for listening to the podcast today. Remember, make sure you like, subscribe, and share our program, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the West Virginia Soccer Association Beyond the Pitch podcast. You can catch a brand new episode every Thursday morning here on the WVSA Digital Network, or find us on our social media platforms at WV Soccer. Copyright 2022. All rights reserved.